Of course, this is a significant development in the U.S. pressure campaign against the government of Nicolás Maduro. Here is a breakdown of what this means, the context, the potential effectiveness, and the criticisms. What is being reported? According to sources like the Associated Press and Reuters, the U.S. government is considering a plan to drop millions of leaflets over Venezuela. These leaflets would carry messages aimed at the following: undermining the Maduro government. The core message would be to erode support for Maduro by highlighting the economic collapse, hyperinflation, and humanitarian crisis in the country. Promoting democratic transition. The leaflets would encourage the Venezuelan public, and potentially the military, to support a peaceful transition to democracy. Countering propaganda. They would aim to break through the state-controlled media narrative and provide an alternative perspective directly to the people. This is part of a broader PSYOP, psychological operations, campaign being developed by the U.S. Southern Command and other agencies. The broader context, the U.S. maximum pressure campaign. This leaflet proposal doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's a tactical idea within the long-standing U.S. strategy to force Maduro from power. This strategy includes severe economic sanctions, crippling the regime's oil revenue and blocking its access to the global financial system. Diplomatic isolation, recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as the legitimate interim president of Venezuela, a policy now under review, and pressuring other nations to do the same. Legal pressure, indictments against Maduro and his inner circle on charges of narcoterrorism. Support for the opposition, providing financial and political backing to opposition groups. Historical precedent, a tried and true tactic. Dropping leaflets is a classic psychological warfare technique with a long history. World War II. Both sides dropped leaflets to demoralize troops and civilians. Cold War. The U.S. routinely dropped leaflets over communist countries like North Korea and East Germany via balloons, promoting freedom and Western values. Gulf War and Iraq War. The U.S. dropped millions of leaflets to warn civilians, urge soldiers to surrender, and undermine Saddam Hussein's regime. Cuba. During the Cold War, the U.S. sent radio broadcasts and floated leaflets to Cuba. Potential effectiveness and major criticisms. While the tactic is well known, its effectiveness in modern-day Venezuela is highly debated. Arguments for potential effectiveness. 1. Bypassing state control. It directly reaches people who may only have access to state-run television and newspapers. 2. Symbolic power. The act itself sends a powerful message to both the public and the regime that the U.S. is actively seeking to communicate with and support the Venezuelan people. 3. Sowing doubt in the military. Targeted messages could aim to persuade mid-level military officers, the key pillar of Maduro's support, to abandon him. Arguments against and major criticisms. 1. Perceived as imperialistic. The image of the U.S. flying over a sovereign nation and dropping propaganda is easily seen as imperialistic. This could backfire, strengthening Maduro's narrative of a Yankee imperialist attack and rallying nationalist support around him. 2. Limited impact in a crisis. For people struggling to find food and medicine, a leaflet may be seen as a meaningless gesture. The common criticism is, you can't eat leaflets. 3. Logistical challenges and risks. How would they be delivered? Using aircraft could be seen as an act of aggression. Using balloons is less confrontational but unreliable. 4. Potentially endangering civilians. Possession of such leaflets could be used by the Maduro government to accuse and persecute civilians as collaborators or traitors. 5. Undermining the opposition. It could make US-backed opposition figures appear as puppets of a foreign power, damaging their credibility. The Maduro government's likely response. The Venezuelan government has already condemned the idea, labeling it a psychological and propaganda operation, and a violation of international law. They would almost certainly use it to fuel their anti-American rhetoric and consolidate their base. Conclusion. The consideration of leaflet drops signifies that the U.S. is continuing to explore all non-military options to increase pressure on the Maduro regime. However, it is a controversial and potentially risky tactic that highlights the challenges of forcing political change from the outside. While it aims to empower the Venezuelan people, it carries a significant risk of bolstering the very government it seeks to undermine. It remains one tool in a much larger and complex geopolitical